Okay, we really need to talk about this couple and how we're dealing with a bunch of Kermits. I first started questioning Kermit the Frog and Piggy's relationship, Miss Piggy's relationship. I got this in France. They spelled Miss Peggy. I don't know why. I don't know if that's about like pegging or whatever. Anyway, I first started questioning their relationship when I read my former teacher's book, which is really good. And she's a brilliant writer. So it's by Julie Klausner. And this was actually my writing teacher at the Upright Citizens Brigade. I learned a lot from her. It's called I Don't Care About Your Band. What I learned from indie rockers, trust funders, pornographers, felons, faux sensitive hipsters, and other guys I've dated. Now, she does this whole thing in the beginning of this book where she just rips into Kermit the Frog and how Miss Piggy and his relationship was so toxic and kind of is what we're dealing with now. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Look at my dog. Look at the wrinkles. He's like so annoyed when I do this. Sorry, but look at that. That's how you pay rent, buddy. You got to do your part. Kidding. Okay. The reason why I started thinking about this is because this photo was trending on Twitter, which I will be always calling it. I will never call it the other name. So Kermit the Frog tweeted this, and it has gone a little viral, or a lot viral, 1.2 million views as of like yesterday. Phones sure have changed a lot over the years. One thing that'll never change, how much Miss Piggy calls me on them. Sheesh. That one. And this is what we grew up with, this being normalized. Our partners hating us and not wanting to marry us, and us being successful and all these things and having to chase after men, even though men benefit from marriage and we don't. She's literally begged this man to marry her. Oh, he's getting dragged now, ungrateful frog. Miss Piggy would kill for you. And then there's all these jokes about how, she's a domestic abuser. Like, they're going to throw you down the stairs for this tweet. I love this one. Straight culture is complaining about your partner as a joke, as these sitcom humor, couples humor, when really you should just break up. But there's a reason why men don't break up. Because they benefit from us. They hate us, but they're not going to leave us until they find another woman to benefit from. Duh! I can't believe it's taken us this long to figure this out. They are brilliant. Dumb as rocks, but brilliant at exploitation. So yeah, he's getting dragged. Men are disgusting. He should feel privileged for her attention. And then everybody, the men are like, oh, you're going to rip your legs off for this. There's been a lot of think pieces written about this. This one in the Daily Beast, Miss Piggy leans in. I really like this one. It's time for the Muppets to give a different couple the spotlight. They are a terrible couple. She's a globe-trotting, best-selling author. He's a homebody who just spends his time sitting around the swamp in the mud. She's a fashion blade who loves finer things in life, and he's a nudist. She's a domestic abuser, and he's her boss, for crying out loud. What a mess. He's they're emotionally incompatible. One is a closed-off, neurotic commitaphobe. The other a clingy, psychopathic narcissist. Okay, sure, but I still like Piggy. I just wish she would leave this man alone because she deserves better. And this is one of the reasons why I want many women following my page to leave these men alone. Leave them alone. They don't deserve you. And we look like Miss Piggy, but this whole thing kind of normalized that we have to beg men to marry us, beg men to exploit us. How did that happen? Honestly, I remember The Muppets of Manhattan was one of my favorite movies ever. I've watched that so many times. I love that they were living in lockers, and they're working with rats. And then at the end, this was such a big deal. They got married, but he had to be basically like browbeaten into marrying her. And I just love how confident Miss Piggy is. And she does karate, and she speaks French. And this dude is just like such a downer. He's such a downer. He's always just like this depressed emo boy. So Julia Klausner, who wrote that book, talks about a little bit about it in this piece for The New Yorker a long time ago. Miss Piggy wanted what I did, which was to be rich and famous and fabulous and to be loved by her one true frog and occasionally Charles Grodin. But looking back, I realized I was, for lack of a better word, just not that into her. Kermit is just like not into Miss Piggy. Like he gives her a shut up ring, to quote my mutual Cecilia Regino, I'll tag. Julia Klausner talks about how the sexual refugees turned out to be just another branch of a fork us over machine. And then she talks about 500 Days of Summer. Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt fell in love with Zoe Deschanel as soon as he recognizes Smith's songs in his iPod. Because it should have been enough for this guy's character age to go for a girl who looks like a pinup, whose eyes are like swimming pools. It wasn't until she tipped him off that she and he were on the same taste-o-meter when he felt safe enough to fall. And her whole book, there's certain things I really didn't like about it, but overall it's really funny and it's a good read. It was kind of my introduction to like really comedic feminist kind of memoir, which inspired a lot of my own writing. And she's actually the person who made me believe in my own writing, which is why I pursued writing. So I'll always be grateful to her for that. Although I don't necessarily agree with some of the stuff that she says. But one of the things that she talks about in that book is about, she didn't protect herself going into a situation that I thought would be casual and then sleeping with a guy and then falling for him. A lot of us end up being like Miss Piggy. I grew up thinking that Miss Piggy and Kermit were the model of a romantic relationship. Piggy, despite her glamour and her confidence in karate kicks, always had the lower status because whenever she'd express interest in marrying Kermit, he'd gulp and run away to tend to his show or his friends or go play with his banjo in the swamp. Her amorous intentions were terrifying to him. And I do think our culture is seeing a generation of guys who are not quite able to meet the expectations of the women who grew up with feminism and post-feminism and who still want to be dated and courted and fall in love with. She talks about how her book, and it does go into this, how men who are in their 30s, who've never been married and are still reaping the free love rewards of the schmegel revolution. So you have men who my age who want to hook up and hang out with no responsibility or expectations that they pursue a relationship. And women my age who are highly educated and gainfully employed who feel entitled to have schmecks with no shame. No shame. That's what we want. But then still end up feeling terrible. And I learned that lesson the hard way myself. I wanted to be a schmegely empowered woman who had a career, who focused on myself, who didn't center men. And every time I tried to hook up with them, I would fall for the biggest losers. And I don't mean fall in love with. I mean like limerence, looking for childhood trauma, part 3, 4, 5, 6 through this loser, hobosexual, gold digger who has nothing going for him. And if you live in a ski town, especially, or into these outdoor men, they have all these guys who live in their cars who don't work, who literally ski all day, Peter Pans, gold digging losers who go to places like Taos, New Mexico and Alaska and all these places, and they hook up with women who have jobs and who are brilliant and went to Harvard, and these men have criminal records and nothing going for them. And then women like us are begging men like that to do anything, not even marry us, just date us. And they won't even do that. I'm telling you, we're dealing with a bunch of Kermits. And, I love the Muppets, but that just kind of is more of that. You know who the current day real life live action version of Kermit and Miss Piggy are? Dax and Kristen. Literal Disney princess. Beautiful. Everyone loves her. I mean, I don't care. I'm not a big fan of either of them. I don't care. I don't dislike her. But she's way out of this man's league. I've done like 4 videos on him. He's the most toxic loser. She had to beg him to marry her, humiliate herself on Twitter. And this guy, and they normalize couples hating each other. I hate this. Get rid of them in terms of couples goals and get rid of this. Get rid of this. This is why I talk about this so much. This stuff influences us. Rom-coms have had women dating down, dating losers, dating like 40-year-old versions and all this stuff. Men who are so don't even measure up to our careers, our looks, nothing. And we're begging them, no wonder we're doing this. We just think this is what we do. Fork that. Because Miss Piggy is an icon. She's an actress, magazine editor, singer, talk show host, martial artist, icon. What is Kermit? I don't even know. Whatever. Plays a banjo. He's an entertainer. Blah. How is he a reporter? I don't get that. He unwittingly marries her in The Muppets Take Manhattan. And it was questionable whether they were actually ever married. And then Jim Henson wanted them to split up. Miss Piggy deserved more, and so do you.